Hello camera, my name is Scott Taylor and I am the project lead of Destiny 2 Forsaken. I think one of the things that luckily I have this, I've been living with this for a long time, and so I've had a lot more time to process it and think about it. And one of the things that is really apparent to me now that I look back on the project and where the game is right now is that if we hadn't done that, a bunch of other really strong choices, there's no way that they could have ever grown. I think of it like planting a seed, and that was like this nugget at the beginning. And then everything else kind of flowed out of that and grew out of it, and there's these different branches that kind of emerged of like, oh, Petra's really interesting now, and what's going on, Ikora and Zavala, like, how are they reacting to their friend dying? Because something to think about is that not only do we as players have this attachment to this character and the performance, and all that, the characters in the world love this guy too. And so what's it like for Amanda Holiday, to the person she's been standing next to for a year now, is not there anymore? Like, he's literally just gone. That's interesting. Not every game gets to do that kind of thing. And so there's a richness to the world and the story that I don't think we get if we play it safe and don't take a chance like that. And so where I stand right now and look right now, and I look at how the new characters like the Drifter and the Spider, they aren't carbon copies of Cayde at all. But I think by showing that the world can change and that there can be consequence for these characters provides a really clear motivation for the player, and it provides an opportunity for the other characters to grow in a way that they can't if you don't have change in the world. And change doesn't have to be killing a character, but in this case, it was interesting to think of what it's like if the Hunter don't have a Vanguard. What does that mean? And there's no speaker anymore, so like it creates a different tone that there's no way, not a way that we understood that we could do that, to provide that clear motivation and have the story evolve and grow in the way it is. Well, I think we are making a really compelling story and campaign experience, which is something that players who just want to pick up and play Destiny because it feels good and have an experience of playing cool missions, that is here, and it's, you know, really high quality. I mean, my personal opinion is it's the best story we've told. I'm biased a little bit, but I think it's a really strong, really understandable story with a clear villain, clear villains, like these bad guys that hurt your friend, right? And so that's there. The richness that we've added with bringing random rolls into the game, having bounties be available, having triumphs and collections, is more about providing opportunities for everyone to have something to do, and not. I don't believe it's alienating to have a random roll drop that's really awesome or one that doesn't. I mean, there's still that chase there, but my hope is that we've made the game feel really good and be really accessible, and we have the character boost for players that have not played in a while and want to come back, and they're coming with Forsaken, so they can play Gambit, which is pretty accessible but also has a lot of depth. So because the game feels good and because there's stuff to do no matter how you want to play, I think our focus on making Destiny for people who love Destiny is going to pay off for both audiences. No, so now you are going to be looking out in the world for drops. Yeah.
Did you discuss bringing back Reforged?
We discussed everything. I mean, like yeah, things we discussed. I mean, that encompasses a very wide range of stuff. We ended up with where we are with mods and slots and random rolls and the way we're doing armor. After looking at all sorts of possibilities that probably wouldn't surprise you. I mean, we talk about, you know, we're fans of the game as much as we are developers, and so we typically talk about these things as if, like, hey, how would I want this to be? And then you kind of balance all the different production realities and goals of the project and time. I mean, all these things are factors in where we got up, but we're very happy with how the game feels, starting on Tuesday with the weapon slots and then going on into Forsaken. Well, I think balance is important, and we're going to be looking at balance as these changes go out. We've played them a lot. Now, many more people will play them very quickly coming up in the coming weeks. We're going to learn a bunch of things, and then we're going to go accordingly. I don't think of it as being afraid or worried about any sort of particular challenge. I think it's more interesting for us to think of it as like, well, here's what we want to do. We want the player to feel powerful. And then we're going to put that out there, and then that's going to result in, have a result. And then we're going to take that and figure out how to make sure that we're maintaining that goal, but still having it so that you can feel like you go in the Crucible and have a great experience no matter who you are and what weapons you have. Anything could happen, but I think that they've been playtesting to try to make it so it feels great to play the game, and that's where we are right now, and we're going to release it and we're going to find out. But it's not super interesting to me personally to be conservative when doing these things, and that's why you kill Cayde, and that's why you add a bow and arrow to a space game with a robot running around a tangled asteroid. It's like you want to try to take those chances, because otherwise I think you become boring, and I don't want to be boring. I want Destiny to be an exciting place full of eccentricities and weirdness and adventure and fun. And so to do that, we're gonna try to take some swings. Yeah, no, I think it's funny because like 3 snipers or 3 shotguns isn't going to be technically the best way to play. However, if said content creator wants to make a video or show of bragging about how talented they are, it is a very viable, hilarious, fun, exciting way to play the game. And that's not an opportunity that right now, if you load up the game, you have. And so in 6 days you will, and that's really exciting and fun. And I'm sure people are going to do all sorts of weird things that we can't even think about. And that's a neat space to be in too, where we're putting out something where we're like, I don't know what they're going to do with this, but it's going to be something, and we're going to find out. And so I can't wait. I can't wait to see. Well, one thing that was interesting when the Dreaming City came about was, I mean, at first I think when we came up with the idea, it was like, it was similar to Cayde. Our first instinct was like, let's not tell anyone about any of this, and like people will play the campaign, and then one day, oh my God, there's a whole planet here. But pretty quickly we were like, this is gorgeous. This is really interesting. We want to talk about this. And so when we started thinking about how we were going to talk about it, we were like, well, this is an endgame destination that happens post, campaign for players to find secrets and do all these things. It is where the raid is. So, if you look at what we've shown of it, if you look at our Vidocs or whatever, you see a big door and they walk in it. The raid has all sorts of visuals that you haven't seen yet. It does take place on the Dreaming City. I think because of Leviathan being specifically a certain type of raid, I think there was some desire. I'm actually speculating now for my friends back home to talk about the fact that there are cool bosses in it that maybe would make people go, oh, okay, I understand what they're going for, the vibe, without giving away any specifics about what the experience is like. I will say it's a fantastic raid with a lot of amazing encounters, and the bosses are quite impressive and fun. So I think that's as much as I probably can say about the raid. It is on the Dreaming City, and its story is related to all the other stories that are being told in Forsaken. I can say that. Yeah, that's interesting. Names are funny when it comes to this kind of stuff, because you start saying a bunch of different ones, and some of them kind of resonate for various reasons, and some of them don't. In early development, the Scorn were called the Forsaken. That was like the enemy race name, and we kind of liked that. And so then we were like, I think it was the Forsaken at that point. And then we were looking at how that word applied to a bunch of different aspects of the characters and the world, and And so then it was like, oh, that's an interesting kind of wrapper for all the player experience and the experience of the characters in the game. And so then we started playing with calling the game the Forsaken, and then we lost the because it started sounding a little cumbersome with that. And it just kind of, it's one of those things you start saying it and it's like, that looks cool, the font looks good, that's neat, it fits the theme. We're trying to tell a darker story, we're trying to do all that sounds good. So it's kind of this thing that with names for us, like these things kind of either hang around or they die, and that was something that started sticking and resonating with us, and it was fun to say. It felt good, it looks cool, like I love the way it looks and the font, and like, so all those things kind of came together with the theme of the game to feel right. It kind of, it's you debate a lot about the title. This one was not the Forsaken for a long time, and then was the Forsaken and then became Forsaken. And so it's just a process. I'd say it's cemented in early this year. Yeah, I think we started doing some presentations, like Steve Cotton, the game director, and I were talking about the game a lot, and we started going, that sounds all right, that's pretty cool. So that's not the most exciting story in the world, but it's more like it applies, the idea and applies to the theme and the characters in the game, and it matched the tone, and then we started just kind of developing a little crush on it, and then we decided to marry it. You can the only reason I'm hesitating is because I think within a couple weeks or so we're going to issue very specific details. So the thing I can tell you that I think is of interest is the annual pass is an evolution of what we've learned from not just Osiris and Warmind, but House of Wolves and Dark Below, where we've started realizing that players are really resonating. The things that are resonating with players are things like Escalation Protocol and the Whisper of the Worm quest that just came out. Yeah. And so we were like, how do we deliver more of that? And so we were like, well, why don't we deliver those things more often to players who love Destiny so much they just need more endgame challenges and more rewards, and how do we give those players what they want? And that emerged into being the annual pass. So we were like, let's tweak from the standard model that we've been doing and have something that's a little more constant and a little more about that kind of content. And so I can say that, and then they're called Black Armory, Joker's Wild, and Penumbra, and we will have much more information about that very soon with specifics, but I think I feel very comfortable saying is that if you're a Destiny fan, you're going to want the annual pass because it's going to provide you that challenge and that content that you really love as a Destiny fan. Yeah, absolutely. Like you end up spending a bunch of time focusing on cutscenes and cinematics and a one-time campaign that you maybe played not as much as you would say in Escalation Protocol. So the way to think of it is that we're still going to tell stories, and you're going to see a lot of that in Forsaken actually too, which does have a huge amount of cinematics, but also has a bunch of really interesting other ways we're doing narrative. That those are the things that we're going to lean on to tell great stories in the annual pass time frame. And so if you were to think about Warmind, for example, yeah, lots of Escalation Protocol, secrets in a world, like exotics that you got to go have quests to do. Like those are the things that you can expect. The way I think of this as someone who works on Destiny is that I think Destiny is a really great game that is worth the money to buy it and play. And we are very proud of the game and we think it's great. Now I focus on trying to make a game that's really good with the team, and I want that to resonate with people. And so that's how I think of it. I don't get caught up in what other games are coming out outside of the fact that I'm a gamer and want to play all of those things, just like I want to play Destiny. And I think that's a pretty relatable, common thing that most people want. They're excited for multiple games. I have this kind of optimistic view that if I'm on a team working on a game that's really good, that people are going to come and want to play it. And so we're going to find out when Forsaken comes out if that's true, and I think it is. I think Destiny feels like no other game. It's the shooting of it feels great. There's things like Gambit that I don't think other games can do. And so, you know, I think it's absolutely worth it, and I'm a huge fan of the game myself, and I'm excited for people to get their hands on Forsaken. I think the thing we've been thinking a lot lately is that Forsaken is what Destiny is meant to be. So fans are going to validate that or challenge it, or we're going to find out. But we feel like it's a really great experience that it kind of encompasses all the best things that Destiny 2 did, like, you know, public events on the map and the fast travel and the way we've streamlined, you know, a bunch of things. And then Destiny 1 had a bunch of depth that maybe we walked away from that we're going to bring back. And so Destiny 2 Forsaken is the culmination of all these things that we've learned, and we do think that we are in a place now where we have a good understanding of what Destiny needs to be for the players that love Destiny. Well, I mean, radical changes. My hope is that when Forsaken comes out, it resonates with players, and that we are able to evolve it in this continued, like, the place the game is right now. I think is pretty healthy. It's going to get a big dose of new stuff when Forsaken comes out, and we're going to see what the players tell us and what we think when we're playing the game in the wild. The thing that you can count on is that we're going to support the game and make sure that it feels as good as it needs to feel. And so that means that if it's working really well, we won't be doing a lot of things. And if it has things that we want to be doing to make it even better, we're going to commit to doing those things. I mean, that's the thing you can count on.